Right, if you like watching fish tank videos, don't forget to subscribe. We've got loads lined up. We're not just focusing on African cichlids throughout this. We're diving into a planted tank soon. Loads of DIY tank builds and stuff. So subscribe if you want to see more. Right, today we're going to talk all about picking quality fish. So through the years, when I've been keeping these, I've had previous tanks to this one. I've ended up with tanks that have had quite a few low quality, low grade, ugly fish in them. And that's simply because I've not done my research, I've not taken my time. So although when you're looking at these fish on Google, you're looking at the videos on YouTube and stuff, you're getting these vibrant, beautiful, colourful fish. These usually are top grade, prime examples of what that fish can be. There is a lot of crap knocking about, so you've got to be careful where you're shopping, what you're looking at early on, and what you're picking. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a few tips on how to make sure that you're actually picking some quality fish that you know are going to look good in your tank, and then obviously that's going to give everybody the best outcome and the best looking tank that they possibly can get. So the first thing I'd say to do is research what you want. So get yourself an idea of what sort of colours you want in your tank. Popular choices are your sunshine peacocks, your ruby red peacocks, your OB peacocks as well, very popular fish, although it's not one of my favourites. But get yourself an idea of what you can put in your African cichlid tank first. There's so many different types of peacock cichlids and haps that come in different body shapes. So have a look online, and what that will do is it will give you an idea of what a top quality version of that fish should look like. So it gives you an idea of what to look for when you're actually in the fish shop. So if you see something online, you're like, wow, that's an amazing fish, I really want that in my tank, then you're more likely to be more careful with your choices when you go to the actual shop. So if you don't really know what you're looking for, you could go in and someone could introduce you to a tank in the shop and say, these are ruby red peacocks, and they could be really not very good versions of that fish, but you don't know because you've not really had a good look into it and done a good bit of research on it. So tip number one is to do your research on the fish, and then also it gives you an idea of, it helps you understand what you can put in with them fish as well, what their ideal tank mates are, and then it gives you sort of a plan on how you want your tank to look, because you could say, oh well, I want a red one, a yellow one, blue one. They come in all those colours, but if you do your research you can put a plan in place and then you're more careful with your choices then. So number two is the big one for me, which is find a reputable source where you can go and get these fish. So I can't really speak for other countries, but in the UK I have found it particularly hard to find really good stock for African cichlids where they've got some really good quality fish. I don't know why that is. I think it's because I don't know about anybody else, but when I go into most fish shops, they tend to prioritise your nano fish, your tropical fish for your planted aquariums. So they'll have loads of variety of all these other fish, and then you'll probably only find 2 or 3 tanks that are actually stocking African cichlids. So you don't get a great variety, you don't get a great choice. But, however, saying that, for all the shops where they stock them and they're not very good, there is always one that's going to be nearby you that's really good at it. I did have one quite local to me called Just Fins, which is recently shut down. They were based in Stoke. Well, I say local, it was a bit of a drive, but it was the closest one to me and it wasn't a bad trip for bringing fish back. But that's really put me in a bit of a pickle now, because the amount of fish shops I've travelled to and can't find a good stock of these fish, it's untrue. But that particular shop, they really put some effort into Malawi cichlids. So they had a massive variety of it. They had Tanganyikans as well. They had multiple tanks, multiple sizes, from booners, peacocks, haps. And it was like being a kid in a candy shop in there. You could really sort of go in, spend a good bit of time in there picking which ones you want, and they had some really high quality ones because they put some effort into stocking it, whereas other fish shops don't. So they'll just sort of get the odd batch in, chuck them in a tank, and you haven't really got a great variety there. So be patient when you're getting these fish. Make sure you're getting it from a good source, because if you're not, you can walk into a shop and they've not got a good variety and you're not patient and you just buy whatever's there, you're going to end up with crap fish. So there is another option when it comes to buying fish to stock a tank, and that is you can order them online, get them delivered to your house. I will always encourage people, if they're thinking of setting one of these tanks up, to find a decent fish shop that's local to them, where they can go in and visually pick the fish themselves, because there's two risks when you're buying fish online. Risk number one is the journey that they have to go through, so the stress it puts on the fish. You can end up with dead fish in bags when they get here. And then risk number two is you're not picking the fish yourself, so they can just stick anything in a bag and send it to you, which limits sort of your ability to get a quality fish. That being said, however, I have experimented with a few places online that deliver fish. There's two that I use that are particularly good, and when I've ordered peacocks or hats from them, they have never sent me an ugly fish. So I've always had really good ones from them. So it's Aquatics to Your Door is one of them, and then Sim's Tropical Fish is the other. So they've always sent me high quality fish. They've always packaged them well. I've never had any deaths on arrival. So if you're thinking of getting them online and there's no shops local to you, or it's hard for you to get out and get to them, definitely use them too, because I've never had any issues with them. I've always had really good fish from there as well. But what I will say is, in my opinion, you need to find a shop. When you can see them, you can pick the highest quality ones, you can check the health of the fish and everything as well. Another option is visit a local breeder. So if you know any breeders that are local to you, that have setups and breed these fish, that's another one you can go to. And then obviously that's something else that you can see visually yourself. So if you know anybody local to you that breeds a fish, and they have high quality ones, that's a good place to go. I haven't got any local breeders near me, so I mean, I'm northwest. If you breed African cichlids and you've got some good ones, give me a shout in the comments, because I'd definitely come up and have a look at them and buy some from you. But something I've struggled with to find local breeders in my area. So tip number 3, when you're in the shop and you're picking your fish, always evaluate the health of the fish. So when I say that, what you want to look at first is the appearance of the fish. So check the fish for split fins, white spot, black spots, because that can be flukes on the skin. So have a good look at them, make sure you're checking everything, check the fish is in good condition. Obviously the vibrancy of the colours matters, because if you've got a vibrant fish in the shop, yes, they can colour down when you put them into your tank, depending on the hierarchy. But if they're showing colour in the shop, then that's a fish that's got some good potential, so it's a good one to pick. Behaviour, that's something else you want to keep your eye on when you're looking at them in the fish shop. So you want to make sure that they're active, they're swimming about. If you've got something that's a bit lacklustre, or it's got locked fins and it's not showing a lot of energy, don't buy it, because it's probably an ill fish. So yeah, make sure they're swimming about, they're happy, showing maybe a little bit of aggression as well. That's how you know you've got a bit of a dominant fish. Obviously, if they're drilling everything in the tank, don't buy it either, because that's going to be a devil fish. But if it's showing a bit of character, then you know it's a healthy fish and it's something you want to pick. Third thing you want to keep an eye on when you're in the fish shop is the tank conditions. So if they're keeping their fish in some dusty ass tank, yellow water, really low quality, just walk out, don't bother. Because obviously poor tank conditions in the store is going to have an impact on the fish that you're going to buy. The size of the fish comes into play as well. So when you're in the shop, if you see juvenile versions of these fish, they do look a bit sort of sepid. There's not a lot of colour to them because they've not developed their adult coloration yet. So if you're looking at sort of 1-2 inch fish, yes, juvenile fish, they do adapt better to new tanks, and they do. If you get them all at a juvenile stage, you can tend to have a more peaceful community. But that being said, what I would suggest to do is aim for fish with the peacocks and haps anyway. They're at least 3 to 4 inches in size, and start your tank with fish that size. The reason I say that is because at that point the fish are usually showing the majority of their adult coloration, so you can gauge what the potential of that fish is. It's a little bit different with haps. I mean, some haps, they don't show the coloration and the real features until they do get really big. But as far as coloration goes with peacocks, if you get them at that size, then you've got a good idea if you're getting a quality fish or not. And then finally is aftercare. So once you've picked the quality fish and you've got them in your tank, you need to maintain good husbandry on the fish, just to obviously to maintain the quality of the fish, but also to give it the best possible outcome as well, because that fish is going to grow, it's going to develop. So you really need to be on top of things to make sure that you're getting the best out of the fish once you've bought it as well. So what I mean is, make sure your habitat's correct in your tank, make sure your water parameters are spot on in your tank, and then make sure you feed them a varied diet as well. So I feed my fish a couple of different things. I've got the Vitalis carnivore pellets, I've got Cichlid Gold, I've got some little spirulina flakes which I do feed every now and then, even though they are predominantly predatory. And then I've also got frozen brine shrimp as well. So if you're feeding them a variety of sort of different foods and stuff, you're really going to get the best out of the fish. They're going to feel minimal stress, they're going to be happy with the diet, they're getting loads of different nutrients in there, and then obviously your tankscape reduce stress as well, makes them feel at home and relaxed. So aftercare is important. It's not all about buying it ready-made. Once you've bought it and you've got a good quality fish, you've got to maintain it and look after it and keep it growing that way as well. So to conclude, do your research, be patient when you're buying these fish and picking them. Have a journey out, go to a few different fish shops, try and find the best one that stocks them the best way. You've got some online retailers there which I can guarantee are going to send you some good fish, and then also keep on top of your husbandry once you've got them, just to make sure that you're maintaining the quality of the fish throughout its life. There is going to be situations where you can go to the shop and pick a really nice, bright, colourful fish, and it goes in your tank and it colours down. You know, things like genetics come into play, how dominant that fish is when it goes into your tank. So if you've got a dominant fish that's in the store that can be dead bright and colourful, you can put it into your tank and then it becomes less dominant and then the colours come down a bit. So you've got to play around with things. It's trial and error. You're going to have points where you do get a good fish and it reduces in quality once it goes into the tank because it becomes more subdominant. But those are some important factors to take into consideration when you're picking these fish.